Good evening, Cecil TV. I'm Grant Handley, your political correspondent. Welcome back to our Democracy 2026 segment. We've had lots of good interviews. If you haven't seen what we've been up to, check them out. And today we have another great one for you. We have Michelle Christman, delegate for Canada. Well, maybe a delegate, right?
Well, I intend to win, so
Candidate for Delegate 35B. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Well, you're a candidate, and I think when you're a candidate, one of the most popular questions is, who is Michelle Christman?
That's a great question. So first, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah. I keep seeing wonderful things about Cecil TV, so it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Michelle Christman. I'm running for Maryland House of Delegate seat. I'm a candidate, District 35B, and that's an absolutely beautiful portion of Cecil County that I love. I chose Cecil County to live and raise my children. Mm-hmm. I built a home here 21 years ago. And I absolutely love it. One of my most favorite places is to sit in my backyard. I sit, I think, I dream, I write. And I will tell you that, at the end of the day, being an American, it's about freedom. Yeah. It's about the freedom to make choices and decisions, to have the right to keep taking the next step in your life. And I think that's really important. And especially with children, I always see, my kids are watching. And so I hope to inspire them to be the best they can possibly be. And that's why I keep taking the next steps in my life, to stand up strongly for our constitutional rights, and to my intention is to become, the next House of Delegate member for Cecil County.
Yeah, that's a great segue, because in your 2021 campaign, the theme was freedom. And in today's context, what does freedom mean to you and in this campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ran for Maryland State Senate, and back then our rights were being trampled on. I've had a chiropractic practice. I started in 1998, and so always took care of, I was married to a chiropractor for over 20 years. I was a chiropractic assistant registered in the state of Maryland, and I was on live radio weekly for 11 years with my own live radio show, interviewing chiropractors throughout the world on how to be healthy and well naturally. Sure. So, when they started to say that we were going to flatten the curve and everyone had to stay home for 2 weeks, right. I went, well, viruses always mutate, they never go away. Why is this happening? And I stood up very strongly to not only fight to get everybody out of masks in the state of Maryland, but also to stand up strongly to become your next senator. I ran a very strong, robust campaign. Towards the end, they threw in a third person. If they hadn't done that, I would have won by almost 1%. And I would tell you that it's been an exciting journey because you get to learn not only the state of Maryland, but the people in it. And we have some of the most amazing people in our state. And I think that's what's exciting, because we all bring something amazing to the table. So yeah, I do stand for freedom greatly, and I do, fight for your rights. That is who I am. I think that's important as an American. So
2025, thankfully, hopefully, no more lockdowns, no more COVID.
Yeah, right. I love it. We have freedom, right?
So that is something you'll continue to advocate for in today's climate.
Yeah, for freedom. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we have to look at that as well in the educational system, that I think it's important that we have strong academics, that we fight for our children to have strong academics. We're seeing that play out all over, not only the United States, but in Maryland particularly. We're seeing how parents are standing up and saying that, you know what, I want my children's freedoms. I want my children to learn reading, writing, math, and have a really strong education. I think the thing that's really exciting about this is not only, sure, we set children up for college, but we have to step back for a moment and start to ask, what's their passion in life? Like, what are the things that they love to do? And trade schools are amazing. I think that, if we negate what people's passions are in life, then you're sort of setting people up for failure. We can't all be put in that same mold and expect to be, the doctor, the lawyer, that sort of path. I know some absolutely amazing people. I grew up in a tractor store as a young kid. And as a young kid, the first thing my dad did was he gave me a truck and a trailer, taught me how to put commercial turf equipment on the back, and said, don't come home till you sell a tractor. And I learned to build relationships that last a lifetime with people. And I think that's what's exciting about running for the House of Delegates seat, is that connecting and meeting with people and learning about them and what do they want, what do they want to see in Cecil County and in the state of Maryland. That's what I want to stand strongly for.
Well, you'd be representing Cecil County as a delegate and in your district. What do you think are the most important issues facing our state and our district if you were a delegate today? Yeah,
so once I am elected, as far as the state, we have some serious issues. We really do. Financially, we have our rainy day fund has been spent. That was spent within the first year. The other thing is that we're being taxed, overtaxed. This last legislative session, it was over $1.6 billion of additional taxes. Within the last 3 years, the last time I read, there's a little over 400 additional things that are being taxed on. Even if you go and you buy a car right now, I think I estimated it's about $1,200 in additional with all the taxes that you're paying and additional fees. The other thing that we're looking at is we're in a deficit right now. I think the last time I read it's like $1.4 billion. Also, people are leaving the state in droves, and I think that's a huge issues because their retirements are being taxed. Those that are firemen, school systems, they're literally leaving and they're going to West Virginia and they're going to Delaware. And we have to really capture those people. The other is to stand strongly for our police officers. We have to make sure that we are protected. When you go to call 911 and you have a serious issue, you want somebody that's going to come immediately. We have to be able to keep our talented fire, EMS. My dad was a volunteer fireman for 61 years in Harford County. And I saw as a little girl the vital importance of those that are putting their lives on the line to make sure we're safe. Yeah. So there are a lot of issues that I absolutely will stand for. That's just a small amount. Sure. As far as Cecil County, we do also have issues. I think there's a huge drug problem that's going on in our county as well. We really need to set things up so that we can support those, so that they can lead a life that that they feel supported, that they can be the best they can be in their lives. Again, the academics are very important in our county. And I also think, we're also seeing solar farms that are being put up. That's taking away. Cecil County has a really strong agricultural background. And we're especially seeing that on the Eastern Shore, those solar farms that are going up. That's really taking away from our agricultural life. And we have to also protect our waterways. Like Cecil County is right along, the path of the Chesapeake Bay. We've got the Susquehanna. We have to make sure that those waterways are clean and well taken care of. So, there are a lot of things. The one thing that I'm really excited about is learning more about what everybody thinks is important and then standing up strongly for their rights. And I also am really good at negotiating and listening and learning. I'm always studying and adapting because I want to make sure that I'm doing an exceptional job. Yeah. And I think that's important no matter what you do in life.
People is important, definitely in Annapolis.
Yes.
A lot of wheeling and dealing. Focusing on the budget, you brought that up, and
right.
That is a hot topic for any Maryland official, the budget challenges that faces Maryland. In this upcoming session, the legislature will face pretty similar issues. They're looking at a shortfall, and it looks like they're going to have to find ways to either generate more revenue through taxes and fees, or they would have to cut back on programming and spending and things like that. In your opinion, what kind of actions would be needed to restore the budget? How would you go about advocating to solve that issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I look at just as simply, constituent in Cecil County and also in the state of Maryland is you have to really look at your finances. You have to look at your budget. You really have to say, like, okay, these are the things that I have to pay for. These are what are vitally important. And then these are the things that I need to save for, right? What we're seeing in our legislator is that they're just taxing us to death for everything. There is no a budget that they're sticking to. It's like they just keep printing money and thinking that, let's just keep taxing Marylanders. And the reality is the middle class is struggling. There are many elderly right now that can't afford their medications. They can't afford their light bills. I just read of a gentleman that he hasn't had electric for quite a long time now. His heating system for his house broke. He doesn't have the money to fix it. And so he's sleeping in the freezing cold, He has the little heaters, but that's also a fire hazard. Right. So, we're putting money in all sorts of different places, even the blueprint. I mean, we don't necessarily even have the money we have the money to support it for the moment, but we don't have the continued money to move it forward. That was $4 billion when they originally moved that forward under Hogan. So I think at the end of the day, I really believe that it's an issue that both Democrats and Republicans have to come together, and they have to really look at this realistically, and they have to stop spending. They have to stop the spending. They have to start to realize that we Americans, we can't continue to carry this financial burden on our back. It's creating major issues, and that really needs to end. There has to be major responsibility in the legislature this session, and we're going to see what happens. So,
is there a particular fund or a particular department or program that you feel is maybe wasteful, or that would be a place to look to start drawing back on the spending?
That's a really good question, and I think that to sit here and say that there's a certain section that's wasteful, I think that's sort of without sitting down and breaking out exactly what's going on, it's sort of disrespectful of that group.
Sure.
However, there is a spot, and I'm not putting them in the spotlight. I'm just simply saying, right now the Maryland Department of Transport Authority, we had that awful tragedy that occurred and our Key Bridge fell down.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm never going to forget it because as a young kid, I used to pull trucks and trailers over the Key Bridge.
Wow.
And I would always go to Annapolis. I sold to the Naval Academy. I loved that area. And it was such a gorgeous ride to see the water and the harbor and the Baltimore. When that fell, it was like a little part of me fell too.
Yeah.
And I think it's not only me that holds those sentiments. I think so many people do in the state of Maryland, especially in Baltimore. But I was just looking at those numbers, and don't quote me on them, but they just... I just read it's a little over between $4 to $5 billion now that they're spending to bring the Key Bridge back up. That should, I read, the estimate should be about 2030 is when it's built.
Yeah.
When you look at other places that run way more efficiently, bridges could possibly already be up by now, right? We could already be running. Like, that's moving people out and around.
Right.
It's slowing down the trajectory of people getting from A to B. It's slowing down ability for people's businesses to grow in that area. So that's just like a small window of one of the things that's happening in a certain category.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just one of the things that I can lightly bring up. But there are so many. I mean, we could really sit here for hours and break down even the trust fund that's, in the state of Maryland. We've got really big issues, and the Democrats have to step back and really begin to look at things and say, we shouldn't be putting such a burden on our state of Maryland and those in Cecil County because it is a trickle-down effect. And we really deserve better than that. We're a beautiful state. I was born and raised here. I love Maryland. It's where I'll be for the rest of my life. And I think that for such a beautiful place, we just simply deserve better. Yeah.
Well, you are a Republican candidate.
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely
So
am. Yes.
You have a primary coming up, and you have some opponents that are in a primary, right? You go
Right.
against other Republicans.
Right.
So what distinguishes you from your other fellow Republicans that you're running against in this primary?
Yeah, I love that. And, I think that's part of, being an American, that having an opponent's really important. I don't see them as opponents because I'm a really strong hard worker. I look at things as it's my race to run.
Sure.
I get to prove myself, right? And then the voters get to decide who they think is the best to represent them down in Annapolis and to do an exceptional job. And that is me. I have been the legislative chair for the Harford County Republican Women for quite a long time now, well over 5 years. And so that means that I get to go through and read the legislative bills. I'll write up synopsises and reports, bills that are important to support, those that shouldn't be moving forward. I also have spent a really long period of time throughout the state connecting with those in Maryland that are politicians as well. And I'm really also dug in deeply to, I ran a small business for actually, it's been a part of my blood. My dad had a tractor store. My mom and dad used to pack me up at 3 years old, put me in the back of my dad's truck, and we would drive all over Maryland, Virginia, and DC selling commercial turf equipment. So I love tractors. I know everything about them. So I fully support our agricultural, community. And then also, I've had a chiropractic practice started in 1998. I'm being bought out now. I'm retired from that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
but
cool.
I did that. So that practice I built, we're in the top 1% of chiropractors in the world. I don't know if I said it already, but I was on live radio. I think I did for 11 years.
Yeah.
And so I bring a tremendous amount of experience. I build relationships that last a lifetime with people. I love people. I love learning about them and then really supporting them for what makes them thrive. And I think that's what makes me different, that I'm super transparent. I'm somebody that you can sit and talk to and connect with. And, when I tell you my thoughts, like I'm being very real and transparent. And where oftentimes many others, you're not going to get that. You're going to get sort of like the answer they want you to hear, and they're going to do something someplace else.
Yeah.
And that's not me. I'm somebody that will show up. I'm going to work hard. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to go study and learn it and do my best to stand up strongly for you. I'm also a really great negotiator. Like that's something that I'm very proud of as well. So I bring a lot to the table. I'm very accomplished. I'll tell you something else that I told you earlier, which I loved. I was brought on to do the Darlington Independence Day Parade celebration of fireworks 2 years ago. And they did this parade, don't quote me on the number, but I want to say for about 40 years.
Okay.
It was an amazing parade, a great community parade. I think it ran about 20 minutes long. I found out it takes 6 months to a year to put a good parade on. I had about 2.5 months. And I put on the biggest
You got
parade.
it done. There you go.
The biggest parade they've ever seen in over 40 years. It lasted almost 2 hours. The fireworks were amazing. And it was just such a great community time. It brought everyone together. And that's what I'm about.
Yeah.
Like I'm about bringing people together, standing up strongly for them, fighting for their freedoms, and putting my best foot forward. And, that's what stands me apart.
Yeah. This is a random question. It's not even on the sheet.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Right. But
love it.
you had me really interested with the tractor stuff.
Yeah,
so
sure.
The incumbent of the seat right now, the current delegate of 35B.
Yeah.
In the past, they have championed a bill called the Right to Repair bill.
Oh, okay.
And the logic is, I have a tractor. I have a really big tractor, John Deere tractor.
Okay.
And something's messed up. The computer system's broken. Something is broken. So what you currently have to do with state law is, if it's broken, you go to John Deere, and John Deere makes the repairs, because John Deere argues that they're specialized in it, they know what they're doing, it's very niche the right to repair bill is the idea that you have the right to repair your farm equipment with like impunity.
Right.
So if your tractor does break down and you got to fix it, you can fix it and it won't like destroy your warranty or anything, even if you like do a bad job.
Right.
I was just curious if with your experience in the tractor industry, do you feel like you should lean on the professionals to make those repairs, or should people be able to give it a go for really like complicated big farm equipment?
Right.
It's one of the few issues, Michelle, honestly, where like Democrats and Republicans like are split on it. Like you can't get traction either way. Like there are people across both sides that have like different opinions on it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think I would tell you, growing up in a tractor store, I haven't been in my dad's tractor store for a long time now, but I can tell you that we had some absolutely amazing mechanics. They were really, really great. Yeah. Back then, we didn't have like the whole computerized thing that we see now.
Sure, yeah.
But the John Deere, from what you're talking about, that's an agricultural, piece of equipment. That has a 3-point hitch, hydraulically driven. It can do a lot of things, and also it makes the farmer money. That's the other thing, that you have to depend upon this piece of equipment, or the trickle down effect and the implications of it financially for that farmer, they're huge. And so the way I see things is, sure, you can take that piece of equipment, take it to the John Deere dealership, and also too, because I grew up in a tractor store for a very long period of my life, and we sold XL Hustler, Gravely, Massey Ferguson, Yazoo Keys. So if somebody brought a Massey Ferguson into us and we sold it, sure, we're going to repair it. But guess what? There are also other dealerships that have amazing mechanics. So what if they took it to a New Holland dealership? What if they took it to a Massey Ferguson dealership? What if they took it to a Ford, Case IH? You're still going to be able to find replacement parts. You're still going to be able to connect and repair that mower. What if your neighbor down the street is an amazing
Uncle Bob?
Yeah, like commercial John Deere repairman, and doesn't work for anybody. He still could do a great job. Like, it's free trade, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't say, just because I bought this mower, you have to fix it. That at the end of the day is, I don't want to call it a monopoly, but it really is this is the path, no other choice. We're in America. We get to make choices and decisions for ourselves. That's the beauty of this country. And that's what I love about America, is that I can go buy, let's say, $100,000 to $200,000 amazing John Deere agricultural piece of equipment, where I intend to make money off of that, right? And I can go find whoever I think is going to do the best job. And I think that's important. The other thing that I look at, just changing it a little bit, is a car. And some people have absolutely cars that they love, whether they're older cars, brand new cars, and you may want to say, well, I want to take that car and take it to the Mercedes dealership or the Volvo or the Hyundai. Well, what about the mechanic down the street that's fabulous, and he will fix that car just the same way, but for less money? And the way we're being taxed in the state of Maryland right now, we can't necessarily afford to take it back to the dealership where we bought it from, because we can't afford that bill. I can't afford the $4,000 bill to fix that mower, and it takes the money out of my money that I'm making. So I then go to Mark, the mechanic down the street, and he does my oil and filter for, I don't know, $70, whereas if it were in the other dealership, it could be $150. So I think at the end of the day, it's sort of
no, it's interesting. I put you on the spot there, but I was just, you had me going.
And I love tractors.
Yeah.
Like, you could put a tractor, I've got to just be able to see it. I can tell you what type of tractor it is, how it's run. I love it. It's kind of a secret passion of mine, but that and fire trucks. I love, my dad was a volunteer fireman. I love fire trucks, and I love my children. My children literally are my world. I love them. I stand up for them, and I stand up for everybody in this county and throughout the state. it's really important they have somebody really strong, like myself, to make sure that they're protected. And I think that's really important to have today.
Well, Michelle, while we wrap up, could you, if you wanted to plug your website or anything about how people can connect with you, feel free to blast it out here, and we'll wrap up from there.
Yeah, thank you. So, one, thank you for having me. You're really amazing. You
I'm
are.
amazing?
Yeah,
All right.
you are.
Nice.
And I just really enjoyed my time here.
Oh, thank you.
So again, I'm Michelle Christman, running for Maryland House of Delegate, District 35B in Cecil County. I'm a candidate. I'm really grateful and thankful for your time and for watching. You can always reach out to me on social media. On Facebook, you can look up Michelle Christman. You can also look up Michelle Christman for Maryland. And I'm very accessible. Also, vote Michelle Christman at gmail.com. And reach out to me. I'm happy to talk, discuss. I'm happy to come out to your events or your places of work and talk about issues that are important to you. This is just an honor to not only be here, but to actually run to represent you and to be elected once you do vote for me. And thank you for your time. Michelle Christman, Maryland House of Delegate candidate, 35B. And I wish you all the absolute best.
Thank you to our viewers at home for watching. If you want to see more interviews, check out Cecil TV and support us any way you can. Have a good night.